one, you'd have typed this in some fashion. We're not sure how you're actually going to go through the process of signing up, but once you've signed up for a world, then you customize it and set how to use it from the dashboard, which is what you're seeing at the moment, which is accessible from the Sinespace Curator website. There's a link that takes you to this page there when you set one up. The mechanics of how they're initially going to get set up hasn't been sorted yet, so we can't tell you how it'll happen, but this is what you end up with to configure everything. So we can change the name of the world if we want to, from Jeff's Place to some other region name, whatever, or world name that you want, Pluto if you like. The world description is pretty obvious. You can type in there what you want. We can have a code of conduct which says you must not be naked or anything like that. You know, if it was possible, we could stipulate you mustn't. We could stipulate you're not allowed in if you're under 13 or 16 or anything. They're not binding, but they're guidelines. At the bottom here, you get the branding, which is pretty obviously the loading screen when you...
Does that mean we can do what we like in Jeff's Place, seeing as you don't have a code of conduct?
No. If the code of conduct was really questioned, that would be Sinespace code of conduct anyway. So the branding image is the big screen. The Jeff's Place is the world icon, which you will see hopefully in the top left little bit along the title bar and different places when the release view is up. If you're on a nightly, you'll still see the Sinespace icon in the top left corner. So that's the first page. If you make any changes there, you need to save them. Let's just move to the next section, which is regions. And this will be an eye-opener for you, because we have got 135 regions on Jeff's Place at the moment. That's how many we've got that are actually on the 659 grid owned by Jeff. Here you set which ones you want to be featured and which ones you don't. By the little thing here, you can have the region enabled or not. So Jeff, as the grid owner, the world owner, can override you enabling a region, and I could, as Jeff, disable it from showing anywhere and have total control, because it's Jeff's grid. He's got control over who can show what. The second option here, set as orientation. We don't need to go into that. I don't think anybody's even used that feature yet, but it's a hypothetical situation where a region is set up with a tutorial in where only one avatar is seen at any one time, despite multiple people maybe being in that tutorial. As far as you're concerned, you're in a standalone region and you only see what you're doing and they only see what they're doing, kind of thing. That's so you're not confused in the tutorial with other people around. Set as default landing. Any of the regions on the grid, I could set Ziggy's as the automatic landing region, so you'd automatically go there instead of the welcome center if I wanted to. Featured is what makes it either appear on the featured list or not. And then finally, edit region. What you can do in edit region is replace the default loading screen, which you can't do on normal Sinespace. This means that when you make a region from a template in the shop, you're not going to be stuck with the template screen anymore. There will be a way that you can actually put your own screen to replace that loading screen. So it's more customization of templated regions in the shop. You can change the name of the region here, and you can change the description of the region as well. Under regions, you've got avatars, where you can choose an avatar category, default or uploaded. You can upload your own avatars. So if I chose to, I could just make Jeff's Place use third-party avatars that I make and upload, or that the region owner, the world owner can make themselves. So you don't have to use even Sinespace avatars in here, although it makes sense to. Yeah, we could make everybody a Jeffel. Look like a Jeffel. You can also change, I think there used to be a selection, changing from business and casual, but it may have been removed since Sinespace Worlds is totally a casual one and not considered a business project. So they've probably removed that. But we can make any of these active avatars when people start a new avatar. So we can give whatever selection of these we want, or upload our own to present as a default avatars when new people land. Again, any changes in here needs to be saved at the bottom, and then we move to color theme.
So they're made from Sinespace avatars, though, right? They're using the Sinespace avatar base.
These are all Sinespace's own avatar base, yes. But if I
Custom
want,
ones.
Yeah, not full body replacements.
yeah, just Sinespace avatars with a set of certain clothes on, or sort of certain customizations. But they were basically the default avatar, and then somebody in Shanghai had to sit and make a few variations.
Because mine have uniforms and safety gear, so that's why I'm asking.
You would be able to do that.
Yeah,
You would be able to set your own default avatars, and they would normally be based on you setting it up in World as you want it to look, and then saving that as an outfit, and then that outfit ID can then be input on the avatar.
Yeah,
There'll be more detail on that later.
Yes.
If you go up to that choose your avatar, an avatar category, that's it. At the bottom, you've got uploaded. So ones you've uploaded yourself.
Yeah, I can't quite see how we would upload one here, or how we would get them to register, but the fact that it says uploaded means it's...
Well,
there you go. You go to upload, and then you get upload outfits if you haven't got any, which we haven't. So
and that's an actual outfit rather than a whole avatar, so you have to save the outfit, I guess, or make the outfit in Unity.
Custom outfit ID, so that is what you do. You go in World with your normal avatar, build the outfit you want, save it and get the ID, and then come back to the dashboard and enter that ID in here to add it as a default avatar for when people set up. So you can achieve what you're after, Cindy.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, so color theme, ignore that because I didn't want to change anything. I'm not going to go changing this because I don't want to lose the proper settings and mess up the colors. But this is where we can change the brown background color in the chat, for example, is probably this color 1. So let's just do that as a quick test. If I do that, if I saved it and you relogged, you would see that the background of the chat window would change to purple. That you could see on the demo of where it would affect things, and the title bar and some of the buttons at the bottom, etc. If you compare it in World, in the real screen at the moment, the chat background is brown, and all the buttons along the bottom have got brown backgrounds. So that's sort of, you can compare the two and see what's happening. So the other ones affect the other highlighted colours in the screen. But I'm not going to go messing there, and I'm not going to save all the changes. Okay, so that's the World customization section. Before we move on to users, and I explain a bit about that, have you got any questions, queries, or anything we want to bring up before we move on? Alternatively, wake up, everybody. Okay, good. So we'll move on then. So under users, you'll see that there's 6 pages of users at least under here. And now at this stage, this is where I pass over to Simon and say, Simon, can you explain what's going on here? Because I know you can't, nor can I.
Well,
I think this is
I don't know how this is going to change in the future. Normally, the Jeff's World started in a different way, and actually, though, these were all users before Jeff's World started. So
I have a feeling that this is a list of everybody that's been into Jeff's World.
Yeah, I think once they've been in, you get basically everybody that's going to enter your world has to appear for some sort of moderation, don't they? And that is what this is. So everybody that comes in, you are able to moderate them and like ban them out of your world or whatever you like in here. So yeah, everybody that comes in is going to be here, but you don't necessarily have to create users here. I don't know even if you're going to be able to...
Hold on, no users have been created here. That's what I was then going to say. Just give me a second. The three you can see at the top right now are Jeff, if you look on the right-hand side, hopefully you can see that he's the owner. And then Les and Jaden are both administrators. SWE Bruce, being a development team member, we can exclude him. They can make their own access and get in. He must have been in to look for some reason. Everybody else that's ever been in are over these other 5 pages, and they're all guests. But from here, originally, when Jeff's was set up, there were only 3 users. Jeff, because he's the owner, and then Les and Jaden, because Josh added them manually so he could set them as administrator. But now I think they've made some amendments to the website here, so we've got a bit more control. And you can see that if I take...
yeah, because I did actually just get access to Jeff, didn't I, on Grid Zero to change your status. So
if you look at the Miz entry here, I've still got hiccups. If you look at Miz, I'm hoping I'm going to be able to edit that. There you go. And I can actually change the role. So we've got a base of people that have been in, which are added to this. Then we get control. But not control, but the option of changing the role. But initially, you get just the grid owner until people come in and populate it over time, where this list will gradually accrue, I think is the word. So this is now probably even date-wise, joining date, the third column is very likely when the order of which all of you and me and everybody all went into Jeff's place. So that's a chronological order, I would imagine. And once you're in as a guest until you get promoted to anything else. So that's the control that you guys will have for your own world. Hopefully that's clear. Has anybody got any questions?
What's the difference between a member and a guest? Is it like more privileges or something?
A member would be more likely to be given access on a region that needs approval to enter. If you're a member, you would be able to set them as have an access, but I don't think you can set a guest with access. I think they have to be set to more than a guest for that to be able to happen. I could be wrong, but I think that's the point of it.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's actually doing anything at the moment, because when I changed the role, you remember at first you said yes, that's the avatar, and I changed the role on that one, and it was your avatar, but it was a different one, and then we realised it was 643, and we did it on there. I couldn't, before I changed that role, the avatar, the first one I changed, didn't have a role at all, so it didn't have guest or member, but obviously I wanted to take that role back off, and the only way I could do it is click guest or member. So I asked Alan which one I should have clicked, and he said either would have done. So I don't know if anything is actually, if there's any difference with them right at this moment, because Alan seemed to say that they were the same at the moment, but that doesn't mean that's not a placeholder for other things. So
yeah. Also, some of the things along the top can be changed. Users in this world can be toggled to shared worlds users, but there probably isn't such a thing at the moment.
This is, I believe that's an actual admin thing, because when I have to administrate people from Grid Zero, I can only see people, if it's users in this world, I can only see people with roles. I can't see anybody else. And to see everybody else that has an account in Sinespace, I have to go click shared world users, and that includes everyone on Grid Zero that doesn't have a role like trusted or something like that. Okay. So which is most of the people, because it's only a few content creators, the really good content creators get that status that they're trusted. So
there's also a couple of other options up here: public access or private access.
Don't do that. I made the mistake. Don't ever do that. Right. Because I did this on Grid Zero. Do you remember a time when nobody could log into Grid Zero
Yeah.
about 3 months ago? Well, that was me, because I had gone into here and there was a problem. I can't remember what it was, and I thought, maybe maybe this is something to do with the dashboard access, and it will open up some more settings or something. So I clicked it, not realizing I shut down access for the whole of Grid Zero, and that's what it does.
Okay.
So if you went private access, nobody. I guess that might be something to do with the guest to member thing as well. If you went private access, no guest would get in theory.
But as we've kind of said, this is a demo, not a tutorial, because even Simewave haven't got all of this ironed out yet. But hopefully by showing you this, you're able to see how far things have come, despite not having an official Sinespace World release yet. But that's
Mark, I didn't actually get into too much trouble, because I did actually say that isn't very intuitive. I'm a pretty logical guy, and I clicked it, not realizing I was shutting down Grid Zero, and Les nearly just done exactly the same thing. So it kind of proves my point. That maybe will be changed in a future update to make it a bit more clearer what it's doing. But
Mark, when did you turn up? I didn't notice you come in. I tried to chase you on Discord. How long have you been here? Okay, good. So you caught most of it then. Cool. Right, okay, let's... and just the other thing up the top here I've noticed. So the top right is download app. That's, I think, there on everything, and I'll come to what that is in a minute, because we're now coming to the next option, which is your apps. And from here, it's pretty much download information to get the virtual world to your users. So you've got a normal download for Windows, a download for Mac. You can copy the Windows download URL by pushing that button and then paste it to somebody, or you can copy the Mac OS download URL and do the same. Here, customize your world is relating to the editor pack, where you can get the hopefully latest one that's available from this link as well. You can read the changelog, which is only relevant to techies, so I'll bore you with that. And you can copy the link to the editor pack here as well, and again paste that to one of your users on your grid. So that one's pretty straightforward. Let's just flick back to the world customization, and now let's look at this top area. So we've got manage worlds, and we've got manage content. We've got an on-off button, and we've got download app. So download app is the same thing as going to your apps. So that's the first thing. So given that, our only other two things to look at are manage worlds, manage content. Manage worlds is exactly what we've just been doing. That's the screen we're on. Then the other one is manage content. And you can now see the items that have been sent up. These are on my ID as Les, not Jeff. So you're going to see some slightly different things here, because Les has access to Grid Zero, whereas Jeff doesn't. I'm going to switch users so you see the proper thing here for Jeff, right? So now it's come up to default that's what we want. Right. So here, these are all the items that Jeff has sent up under his ID. It's going to be difficult to explain fully what goes on here, because at the moment you can't do what I'm going to describe. But in the end, when Worlds launches, you will have the option of, when items are sent up from Unity, you can send them to Grid Zero, and they will be available fully in every shop or every world that allows all of the items to be sold in. But if you change the world/grid ID to 659, which is Jeff's ID, and then send the item up, you will only be able to see it in Jeff's shop, not in the Sinespace shop when you're logged into that grid or any other world that you're logged into. So you can make exclusive items for your world. The problem at the moment is, although I can send them up, Jeff can't then push them to review or push them live, so hasn't got control over them, which is something that's still being sorted out. So that should become easier. But what we're looking at on the screen is really the items that Jeff has sent up as a normal user would, whether he's on the Sinespace grid or Jeff's. So it's not really relevant to the way the dashboard works. This is more about all the items. And as the owner of a world, in theory, although it's not active yet, you should be able to look at any item that's been uploaded to grid, for example, 659 and Jeff's grid. As the grid owner, whoever has sent it up, you get control, and the review and the pushing to live is your responsibility, not the Shanghai review department as it is on the Sinespace grid. So in a sense, the world owner is way more able to control the stuff that's pushed through quickly and isn't, because they should have that control instead of it relying on Shanghai. Ultimately, the worlds could still be subject to Sinespace reviewing them, because even a world that's private still really shouldn't be putting out bad stuff in whatever format that happens. So it's not a case of you being isolated and left alone to do whatever the hell you want, but you're not going to be policed on it in a strong way, at least at the moment.
So the compression scheme is protection enough against bad code. There's just no protection against adult content.
Yeah, but adult content, the only way you'd be able to do that would be with a third-party avatar that was naked, because you can't make a Sinespace native avatar naked. It won't allow you in the outfit window. I mean, some people find a way around it and then that gets plugged. But the only worry would be third-party avatars on that with nudity or things that were just not suitable.
No flying penises.
Second Life used to be plastered with sex posters everywhere.
Yeah.
Did someone say Spiral turned up?
Yeah, I think he landed. I don't know if he stayed logged in though.
Oh. Yeah, the world owner has more control over the theme as well. This is the idea of it. Whereas Sinespace has to be a vanilla product appealing to hopefully everybody, you could have your world and it could be totally dominated by vampires, and you're only into dark horror and only want people who are into that stuff. So you could make all your regions dark. Your Rotherham Centre could be as Transylvanian as you want, but you wouldn't do something like that when you're trying to appeal to the mass public, which was, I think, to some extent, not Sinespace's public grid failure, but it didn't help things. So anyway, we can toggle on here now back to the screen between this world button allows us then to go back to the dashboard. Now, these are Jeff's controls. Whose phone was that? It wasn't mine. That was weird. Yeah, so Sinespace and Jeff's place. So if I go to...
That's strange that you've got both of those coming up.
That's always happened.
What happens if you hit items on the Sinespace?
It always happens for Les because he's a Grid Zero native avatar. Where the confusion has come in with Jeff's ID is because Jeff was never created on the public grid. He was entered in the user database by Josh manually. Yeah. So that was how he's different.
I see what it is. It's not actually giving it the items button on Sinespace Universal is actually giving you access to your curator, isn't it? That's what it's for.
That's the same thing we were looking at. What Jeff has sent up on his ID
on Grid Zero, yeah. One thing you didn't.
Hold on. If I just get back a minute, hold on. To there, and then we look at what I get for Jeff's place, because the sending up to grid 659 isn't working yet properly. It's not showing that there's any items there on Jeff's. Yeah. So I've only got dashboard. Normally for you guys, when you have a world, you will see there dashboard and items, not one or the other on each of the two grids. So you will see a Sinespace Universal possibly to get to the items you've sent up on grid 0. And then on your world grid, which on this screen is Jeff's place, for you, you'll also see dashboard and items, which will then go to all the items that have only been sent to your world exclusively. Which is a bit of a mouthful. Hopefully you've got your head around that.
Yeah, and if an item was sent to a specific world, so when you're uploading it, you put the grid number into that, it can only be accessed in that world. So that's what. But if you upload it to grid 0, the normal way of uploading, then it can be accessed in every single world.
It doesn't mean you won't be able to. For example, if a top was exclusive to Jeff's, you wouldn't be stuck with only wearing that top while you're in Jeff's place. You will still be able to wear it when you go to other worlds. Excuse me a second. Sorry, needed to choke. Don't mind me. You would still wear the item because you're then advertising it on another world, and somebody says, "Where did you get that from? I can't find it in the shop." Oh, you've got to go to Jeff's place to buy that. That's the enticement element to get people to your world. Thanks, DG. So, okay, I think that's pretty much it. We can go backwards from here to dashboard again.
You've got an activity log, but that's just as what it says, basically.
Yeah, I don't think we missed anything. We went through it all, didn't we? So it's not rocket science, but it just takes a little bit of thought in what you do with it, really.
The activity log can be useful if you've got people, if you're like the owner of a world, but you've got administrators in your world helping you, because then you can keep a track of everything that's going on, any changes.
So there you go. There's your introduction to the dashboard for the Sinespace Worlds.